All right, I think we can go ahead and get started for tonight's Back to Basics. I see a lot of people in here. My name is Mark Nakamura. I'll be presenting tonight. It's on Wireshark. There was not that much advertising for this one, but I did make all of our data available. So if you guys go home tonight and you want to follow along the video, all the PCAP data is there. I made videos of what I'm actually doing on the systems so that you're not just seeing the packet captures, but you're seeing what I did. And it's pretty basic, just ping a system, go to some websites, and then, the third one, reverse shell, stuff like that, enumerate the system. And we're going to be looking at that in Wireshark. Alrighty. So here's the title slide. So this is going to be kind of like just an introduction to Wireshark. Basically, if you've never used it before, or if you have used it and you want to just get up and running really fast, that's what tonight is designed for. And then going forward, we'll probably have some more advanced stuff. Oh, hey, Christine. We'll have some more advanced stuff, decrypting HTTPS, wireless, threat hunting, network engineering, all that stuff. But tonight's just pretty much the basics. Alrighty, so a little bit about me. I'm an ISSA member, just like all of you, or most of you. I'm also a full-time student, just like most of you. I work in digital forensics and incident response. I've got 2 dogs. There's no picture this time. And myself and a group of friends, we do some of the security and technology workshops that you guys might have seen. So we've done Active Directory, we've done networking, we've done Linux, we've done Purple Team, an attack and detect workshop. Recently, we did a Splunk workshop, so Ken ran that one. Ken, raise your hand. There he is. Everybody say hi, Ken. Good, good, good. And most recently, I got a motorcycle. Yes, yes. I've ridden a total 4 times now in my life. Stalled about 20 to 30 times, fell off once already. It's hot though. So when I fell off, I got just a little bit on the leg, a little bit on the arm, but it's all right. I wasn't going that fast. Well, hopefully the weather will cool down, and then I'll put on some more clothes. Alrighty, so I kind of broke up tonight's presentation into 3 parts. Part 1, Part 2, Part 3. And then if you guys have the data, these are the packet captures that we'll be using if you guys want to follow along. Here's another picture of the URL, so if you guys want to take a picture of that on your phone so that you can do it later. I see a couple phones. Alrighty. And a quick admin note. We do run a lot of things in Discord. So if you guys like the virtual stuff and it's free, we do a Capture the Flag event every first Saturday of the month, 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. Every second Wednesday, we do a Backdoors and Breaches night. So we start at 7:30, which is a tabletop exercise. It's a game. It's awesome. Steven runs that. Steven, raise your hand. Everybody say hi, Steven. But yeah, and really, it's really good. Like, there's so many people in there. Like, you don't know who you're talking to. You don't have to put your name if you don't want, but you got engineers, admins, you got students. I know there's a couple of CISOs in there, some other senior people, and everyone's just real friendly. If you guys have questions, they'll answer it. I think the last problem that we saw that we were working on was a Kali Linux auto update thing. Did we fix that? Did you fix that? Okay, it's still broken, but we tried. All right, so that's the Discord. If you guys want to join, it's free. You just need to make your own account. All right, on to the meat and potatoes. Intro to the intro. So what is Wireshark? So Wireshark is a advanced protocol analyzer. So what does that mean? So, question.
Did you say Wireshark or Baby Shark?
Man, I didn't. Yeah, Wireshark. Anyway. But yeah, protocol analyzer. So when it gets the traffic, what it's trying to do automatically is trying to see what kind of traffic it is. Is it SSH? Is it ICMP? Is it HTTP, HTTPS? It's trying to run all of that for you as compared to a tool like TCP dump, where all it does is it reads the packet capture. Now, both Wireshark and TCP dump, they can both capture packets. And we'll go over that a little bit. And there's a picture of it if you guys want to see. All right, some capabilities at a glance. It'll follow an entire network conversation. So for example, if you go to a website, you and that website are considered a conversation. If you ping another system, that's considered a conversation. It'll take both the source and the destination and kind of put it all together for you. You can decrypt traffic if you have the private keys. We're not going to go over that tonight. When I was making all these labs and stuff, I was actually having a lot of trouble, but it was based on what I was trying to do. I was trying to build a command and control, capture the traffic, and then decrypt it. I failed at that. I did an SSH session, also failed at decrypting that. So if anyone here knows how to decrypt SSH sessions, let me know. I'm interested. So it can also capture and analyze both wired and wireless traffic. And you can carve files out of network traffic. So if, for example, you're downloading a file from a website, if you're passing it through FTP, if you're passing it through SMB, like a network share, it will automatically put it back together for you, and you can just do left click, right click, export. You can also build it from scratch because it captures the bytes. And carving files, you can make smaller packet captures out of the big packet captures. So let's say you have a large packet capture with all the traffic, but all you want to see is anything involving SMB, server message block. You can carve all that traffic out and save it to a new PCAP where that's all you see. And so when you install Wireshark, it installs some other things like cap infos, edit cap, and others. I meant to change others and put T-Shark in there. T-Shark is the command line version. And when you install it, right, you're going to want to install npcap as well, and then you can also install USB cap. Cool. So, Wireshark versus TCP dump. Wireshark, advanced protocol analyzer, not good for long-term packet capture or enterprise level. So what we're looking at today is just traffic capture between two virtual systems. But what happens when you have a whole enterprise, thousands of systems, servers, endpoints? Where do you capture traffic? You might capture it at your egress points. You might have a full network tap. You might have a mirrored port, a span port, and you could capture it there. And there's also enterprise level tools as well. TCP dump, it's lightweight. It captures packets, and it can read the packets. It's typically built into every single Linux distribution. So if you guys run Linux, just type in TCP dump, and you should be able to see it. Any questions? I know I'm talking fast because I want to get to the good stuff. All right, nothing heard. All right, so sometimes you want to understand what the metadata about the PCAP is. So in command line, you can use cap infos. If you're in Windows, what's important to point out here is that when you install Wireshark, cap infos is not put into your path by default. So you actually have to call cap infos from its directory. You can't just type in cap infos and expect it to work. You have to point it at the entire path. And so you can also do it in the Wireshark GUI. And that's kind of what it looks like. So you get the hashes, you get how many packets there are, you get the time of the capture, all stuff that you might need, like when you're doing a forensics report, or you might just be trying to understand what you're dealing with in the first place. Alrighty. Part 2, we're going to be making life a little bit easier. And here's where we're kind of going to get into the up and running portion of this. All right. So if you're following along, which I don't know who is, but it's all good. We're using two PCAPs here, ping and website. Notice here that the PCAP files have the PCAP extension. And the first thing that we'll do is look at the timestamp. By default, when you open a packet capture, you're going to have second since first captured packet, which, as you can see, it's cool, but is it really helpful to you when you want to understand what time it is and what time that thing is happening? Maybe, maybe not. I don't think so. So I like to change mine to date and time of day, which is the second picture. So now you can see that I made this packet capture 2 days ago at 2:30 p.m. Eastern. Yeah, it was 2 days ago. I only procrastinated a little bit. I almost waited until last night to do it. But I was like, no, I'm going to be busy. All righty. So that's the first quality of life that I want to point out to you guys is the timestamps. And there's a whole bunch of other stuff that you guys can look at depending on what you guys want to see. All right, right-clicking. In Wireshark, it is a graphical user interface, a GUI. So a lot of times when you're looking for something, you can simply right-click. So for example, if you don't know what you want to see, but you want to see a column, you can right-click that thing and apply as column. So here in the example, all I did was, it's hard to see, but target MAC address, I said, let's add that as a column. And so that's what I did. So in the picture to the right, you can see it's added as a column. And then you can move it left and right depending on what order you guys want to put it in. And you can also right-click and apply it as a filter. So let's say that you guys didn't know how display filters work. Now, Wireshark works off display filters. And we're going to see a picture of that. But let's just say that you didn't know how to do it. Just right-click, apply as filter. And what that looks like is this. So now you see we have a filter where it says arp.src.hw_mac is equal to that target's MAC address. So if you're new and you don't know how to do it, just remember, right-click on that thing and just see what your options are. All right, so getting into display filters. So display filters will get you a lot of places here to really filter out that traffic that you want to see, those conversations that you want to see. And there's more than one way to do it. So the first example is we're going to say to filter on our source IP address, which equals 192.168.186.138. We're going to use the filter ip.src is equal to that IP. Now, my question to you guys is, why might you not want to use that as a display filter if you want to see all the traffic associated with that IP? Yes, exactly. So when you have a network conversation, your first source IP, when it starts communicating back, well, it receives the packet, right? And it receives that communication, it then becomes the destination. So sometimes it's not what you want to use. So alternatively, you might want to just see any IP that equals that. So that display filter being ip.addr. And I would say here too, when you guys are using display filters, you'll see a lot of stuff that is very similar to coding. So we see the equals, and you'll see that in code as well. You can also use bang equals or exclamation point equals to make it not that thing. You can also wrap things in parentheses to make it grouped, and then use ampersands, double, of course, to say and these things. So just a little bit of learning stuff there, but you'll get used to it as you see it. Oh, and one thing to note, you see how the background is green? That means your display filter is good. It will work. If it turns yellow, it means it will work, kind of. It might not be the best thing that you're doing. And if it's red, it won't work. Like, you can press enter all you want, and it will not do a thing. So green is what you want. Any questions here? All right, moving on. So outside of Googling and ChatGPTing, what happens when you don't know what display filter you want? In Wireshark, there's this thing called display filter expression. And it will list all the protocols it can search on. And what you guys can do is just do a search by keyword. So for example, well, this example uses ICMP. We don't know what fields we want, but we just know kind of the general direction of where we want to go. So what that looks like is this. So we typed in ICMP as a keyword. We found the Internet Control Message Protocol. And then we have all these options. These are filters that you guys can use. And if you click on one on the right side, you can see how they're supposed to be used. And so what that looks like, I'll take a quick pause here, and I will open it up. We are not updating right now. I'll do that when I get home, maybe. All right, so we're looking at the ping. Cool. So we'll come up to statistics or analyze, display filter expression. Statistics is my habit, it's my go-to. So if I ever start there when I'm talking about something else, just know that's just muscle memory. Display filter expression, and as we can see, this is what we see in the example. So we used ICMP, but what about HTTP? And now it automatically starts filtering, and we can see where the HTTP keywords are. And let's just say that we were interested in hypertext transfer protocol, which typically runs over port what? Okay, excellent. And see, we have all these options that we can use here. And so that's what that looks like.
I have a question.
Question?
Does that mean that all of those are within the data set, or that's just all the options available?
That's all the options available.
That doesn't mean they're necessarily within the...
Correct. Good question. We'll see a little bit about that as we move on. Oh, it started me over. It's okay. Motorcycle again. By the way, the motorcycle goes really fast. So I'm a nerd, but now I have a motorcycle, so I'm a fast nerd. So when I fell off my bike, it was so funny. I bet it looked just like a cartoon. I didn't just fall. I hit a curb. I bounced a little bit. I'm pretty sure I bounced off my bike. Just kind of went through the air. Question.
Kind of going back a hot second. Instead of utilizing the port type like HTTP, say you're using an off-the-wall port, like 4,000 or 8,000, something like that. Can you search your criteria within that same parameters, or is it specifically you have to say port type?
If you want to filter on a port number, you would choose, for example, if you're running TCP, it would be like TCP.port is equal to whatever it is that, whatever port. Great question. There's so much filtering that you guys can do. It's amazing. All right. So columns that you like. So let's say that you're consistently or constantly analyzing HTTP, right? And so let's just say, for example, that these are the columns that you like because it gives you the information that you want to see all the time. So in this example, we're using the request method, the full request URI status code, and info. And the request method, that can be your get, your post, whether or not you're requesting something or you're submitting information to them. Your request URI, so that's going to be, the website that you're actually going to. So here you can see I went to Google a little bit, then I went to YouTube. And it's in the video, so you guys can see what I did. And then status codes. Your HTTP status codes are really interesting, right? Because 200, that means you're good. 300 means it went somewhere. 400 means you probably shouldn't be doing that thing that you're trying to do. And then 500 means that your server is messing up normally. So it's important when you guys are troubleshooting or investigating things. What did someone have access to? What did they actually get access to? And where did they go from there? And there's a whole bunch of other stuff, too, that you guys can use depending on your preferences, like refer, things like that. So, but let's say that you like all those columns. What you can do is save these things as a profile. So you would just create a new profile and then go back to your analysis and start selecting all those columns you want. And then you can also export that profile and share it with other people. Conversely, if let's say you're a junior and a senior gives you a profile to use because they want you to look at traffic a certain way, you can import new profiles. So I'll show what that looks like real quick. I know these pictures don't do it justice. So on here, on the bottom right, you see this profile default, this tiny, tiny thing right here. All you do is click on it, and now we have different options. So by default, it looks like this. And we've got Bluetooth, we've got Classic, we've got new reassembly. And you can choose just these different ones. And what that'll look like is now we've created a different view of what we're looking at. So there's a whole bunch of flexibility here that you guys can use. I'll go back to my default one because I like seeing it that way for now. All righty. So any more questions before we get into part 3? No questions. All right, I couldn't think of a good title, so I just said, let's go. All right, hunting for the unknown. So we're going to use the shell PCAP here. And the scenario is an administrator gave you a PCAP saying that there's word activity on systems. You're tasked with investigating to determine what occurred. You only have the PCAP. You don't have any other data sources. So the question is, well, where do you start? Anybody have any ideas on where you would start first? All right, that's OK. That's why we're here. So here's where I would start. First thing I'm going to do is Wireshark being a protocol analyzer. It will also list out the different conversations that are occurring within the packet capture. And what I have highlighted here, I know it's hard to see, but it's 2 IP addresses in the 192.168 range. And the reason why this stands out to me is because compared to every other conversation in here, the most packets are being transferred here. So we have 641. Number 2 only has 181. And then everything else is pretty low. So the 641 catches my attention real fast. So that's what I'm going to start looking at. And then in real life, I'd probably be like, well, what are those 2 IPs? And I would probably find that it's a Kali Linux system and a Windows 10 with all the security features disabled. Yeah. OK, so back to the right-clicking. If you don't know how to filter it, that's OK. Just right-click on it. We're going to apply it as a filter. And we're going to have the bidirectional traffic between A and B. And that looks like this. So here, we have the equals equals, and we have the 2 ampersands. That's an AND statement. And now we get all those traffics. And it doesn't care about what port is going on. It doesn't care if it's TCP, UDP. It's just filtering on those 2 IPs. All right, so now that we're there, the next thing I would do is look at the protocol hierarchy. So with Wireshark being an advanced protocol analyzer, it's going to attempt to sort it all out for us. So what caught my attention right off the bat, not because I made the packet capture, I knew exactly what was going on, was this field called data. And we can see here that there's TCP, and then underneath TCP is just data. And back to the right-clicking. We don't know how to add this to a filter, but let's right-click and see what happens. Right-click, apply as filter, and we're going to choose this time and selected, because we're going to add it to our existing filter. So here's what it looks like. So we first group the two IP addresses, and then we say an AND statement and the data within those two IPs. All right, so what's next? Follow stream. Right-click, follow stream, guys. Right-click, follow stream. This will save you so much time and effort when you're doing analysis. So we want to see what the conversation was. We want to see what actually happened between those two systems. So you can click anywhere because it's all the same thing. You right-click, follow, and because we know it's TCP, we'll do TCP stream. You will have other options, like if there's other network traffic, you'll have HTTP stream, UDP stream, and I think a couple of others. But we know here it's TCP, so that's what we're going with. And what that looks like is this. We see here, question?
Yes, it said you could also use Control-Shift, Control-Shift-T, capital T, or T.
Yes.
Would it be like H for HTTP or?
I don't know.
Okay, just wondering.
We can figure it out though, at some point. All right, so what happened here? We see that whoever C user student is, they gave a command that says, who am I? And then there was a response that said, student. So what is the difference between the blue and the red? We'll get to that. Just keep that in mind for right now. We also see a couple of other commands, hostname, netstat, PowerShell, because we're switching the type of shell that we're in. We're going from command prompt to PowerShell. And then we see other things, get local group, administrators, so we're enumerating who's in the administrators group. We're doing get computer info because we want to know what type of computers we're dealing with. And a couple of other things, which we'll see. All right, so what did that all mean? So we showed us, well, the stream showed us that a shell was established between the two systems, and then the red and the blue. All right, so the blue text is the client and the requester. That was me issuing the command to the Windows 10 with all the security features disabled. The red text was the response. So that was what the Windows system was giving me back. And so we know here that they asked about who they were, what their host name was, what they're connected to, switching to a PowerShell terminal, and then enumerating the system. And if we had switched our columns, we would have seen that all this is happening on port quad 8. I would also say, too, that when you guys are doing investigations, when you see ports that look like really good poker hands, those tend to catch my attention, too. Like quad 4. Who knows what quad 4 is normally used with? Metasploit, yes. You don't have to, but that's pretty common. And remember, just ports are always like, you can change ports. It doesn't really matter. You know, Metasploit could be quad 4, it could be 1234, it could be 20-something. Even HTTP, right? It's commonly on port 80, but you could put it on 9000, which I've done before, just for fun. It's not commonly desired because it can really mess some things up and confuse people, but you can. Changing port numbers is not a security feature. All right, so before I go into this extra resources part, I want to show you guys the video that I did. There's 3 videos, but I'm only going to show you the shell. And I see that the sound is on, so the first thing I'm going to do is dial it back. Because I did record music while I was going. That wasn't the right file. This one. Okay, I'm going to turn that off. It's loud. Don't judge me and my music. Okay, on the right side is my Kali Linux. On my left side is my Windows 10 victim. These are just two virtual machines that I'm running on the desktop. So what I've done is on the right side, I set up a listener on Netcat on port quad 8. On the left side, on my Windows system, I used a Python reverse shell. So basically, I'm running Python code, and it connected to my Kali Linux, which gave my Kali Linux shell access to my Windows 10 system. Okay? And then you start seeing me run these commands. I know it's tiny. I'm sorry, guys. But you start seeing me running that who am I command right there, and it returns student. And so this is what the packet capture actually looks like. Then I run some more commands, hostname, netstat, switching to PowerShell, enumerating the administrators group, enumerating the type of computer. And on the left, you can see the computer working. And when you do this, you tend to find out a couple of things. For example, I know that based on the network adapter, it's a virtual machine. And you can change that, and sometimes you should, depending on what you're doing. So here, I'm querying Google with an invoke web request. And then after that, I change directories to the downloads folder. I query Google again, but this time the results of that Google query, I'm saving it to a file in the Windows downloads, which you can see right there. And then just to prove it, I open it up in Notepad++, which is that. So with my Kali Linux system, I'm doing all that stuff on the Windows 10 victim. Self-inflicted. All right. I think that is the video. Cool. So that was a lot. Any questions before we get into the extras? Question?
When we started that exercise, we saw those packets were a bit anomalous. In a more real-world scenario where you're going to have a lot more information to go through, is there anything that's built into Wireshark that would help us do some sort of like, finding anomalies, or is it really just a manual process of taking a look through and saying, I'm used to seeing these ports, I'm used to seeing these numbers, oh, that's weird?
Yeah, good question. So Wireshark in and of itself will not say, this is weird. All it's going to do is tell you, this is what we see. Now, if you have that background, if you know what's normal in your environment, cool. Then that will help out. There's enterprise level tools that will do that. So think about your archive, think about your extra hop. I'm pretty sure there's other tools too. Like you could run snort your IDS against the packet capture. You could run Zeek against your packet capture. And that will also pop out things that are going to be weird. But in and of itself, I don't think that Wireshark will be like, this is what's weird. This is what you need to look at. Cool. Any other questions? All right, so I have some extra resources up here. I know it's not presentation mode because I'm going to go switch back to the browser. So if you guys were interested in challenge-based learning, which I highly encourage, Cyber Defenders is a great resource, especially if you want to do challenge-based learning for blue team stuff. So think about your digital forensics, your network forensics, memory forensics, like all that stuff, there's challenges for you within Cyber Defenders. And it's free. There is a paid version, but there's like 70 challenges or so on the free, so you don't really need a paid version unless you really want it. I use the free version. And what that looks like is this. Hey, skip. So within Cyber Defenders, they have all these challenges. So let's set a filter for free because we like free. That's also why we like Linux for the most part. And we also have all these different challenges. You can investigate ransomware. That was actually a really fun one. I think this was also network forensics. But if you guys ever want to work on this stuff, feel free to hop in the Discord. We'll work on it with you. There's typically someone online who will help. But yeah, you have this free resource for challenge-based learning. And with the free ones, the ones that are retired, there's probably a write-up somewhere on the internet. So if you get absolutely stuck and you don't know what to do, all you have to do is Google the name of the challenge, and you can probably read someone's write-up on how to solve it. Alrighty, that's Cyber Defenders. Wireshark, we also have T-Shark. You might want to use T-Shark just if you want something done faster. So with Wireshark being a GUI, there's a little bit more compute overhead. But if you want things done fast, do things in the command line. And if you don't know how to do it in the command line, just ask ChatGPT. Well, that's funny, right? But it really works very well. I tried the other day. I was like, hey, ChatGPT, give me a T-Shark command line to show me all these things in all these fields. And it did. The only thing that I had to change was the name of my packet capture, because that was something that I had. And ChatGPT wouldn't know that unless it invaded my system and did other things. And I actually haven't tried. Actually, now that I'm thinking about your question, I've never tried uploading a PCAP to ChatGPT and being like, hey, tell me what the weird stuff is in here.
Maybe don't. Maybe don't.
Maybe we don't do that?
I've tried it, it doesn't work.
Okay. I haven't had much luck with ChatGPT. I detonated some malware one time, and I was like, okay, in the logs, I see the malware. Like, I see you happening. I know you happened because I did it. And then I uploaded the logs to ChatGPT, and they're like, there's nothing here. And I was like, how are you going to tell me that? It's right here. But anyway. All right, so the other thing I want to share with you guys is the shells cheat sheet. So I'm not smart enough to make it myself, but you can Google all these cheat sheets on how to build out these reverse shells. Someone's already done it for you. And I think I used a Windows one, which is Windows only Python 3. That's the shell I used in the video. And it's so easy. You just copy, paste. I changed the IP and the port, but that's what I ended up doing. All right, before I move on, does anyone have any questions on the packet capture? Do you want to see a live demo of walking through statistics and all that stuff? We want to see it? Yes? No? Okay. So let's open up our shell PCAP. It's all default right now. So the first thing that we can do, statistics, conversations. And here again, we go to IPv4.
Excuse me, sir. Could you, what's the title of what's the topic of the conversation?
Wireshark, introduction.
Got it, thank you.
Yep. Yeah, just to get everyone up and running, just some quick tips.
Okay. Understood.
Yep. So here we see that traffic with the 641 packets that catches our attention. So we right click, apply as filter, selected, bidirectional between A and B, and there we go. So that's the first step. Then the next thing that we did is statistics, protocol hierarchy. And now this narrows it down for us a little bit because we already had those two IPs filtered. And what caught our attention was this data. That's what we want to do. So right click, apply as filter, and select it because we're adding that to our filter. And there it is. Oh, and you can also see here the quad 8 port, as well as a 55418. Now the 55418, what is that one? Does anyone know? It's a slight trick question. Not like a huge trick question, but. No? So that's an ephemeral port. It's generating it on the fly to connect to the Quad 8. And what that also does is it gives it a port for Quad 8 to send something back to you. So it's not something that I created. I just let the system create it itself. All right, so the next thing that we did was right-click, follow TCP stream. And here's where we see all of that traffic. The whoami, the host name, netstat, TAC ANO, switching to PowerShell, doing the PowerShell things. Oh, and here you can see all the VMware stuff. So we know that we're in a virtual machine. So that's important because there is some malware out there that can actually tell the type of system you're on. And if it thinks that it's in a virtual environment, it will not detonate.
Did it capture the reverse shell command? Did you have this running when you ran that?
On the Windows, no. So are you talking about the actual reverse shell that popped on the Windows? No. And then invoke the web request using an alias, changing directories. And that's that. There's nothing crazy here. We could take it steps further, depending on what's in that file. If they had transferred data across, we could take it, reconstruct it, and carve out those files. We could do that. Maybe another topic for another time. We could do all sorts of things. And then there was a question, hotkeys for following TCP streams. What does that look like? So if you guys decide to follow along at home, there is that traffic here available for us. So this is the website PCAP. We showed a little bit during the presentation, but just kind of off the bat, you can kind of see what I was doing. I went, you open a browser in Kali, the first thing it does is go to the Kali website, so you see that. Then I went to Google, then I went to YouTube. So let's throw in a filter here, HTTP. It's red, that won't work. Now it's green, it will work. All right. So we see that there's a whole bunch of requests and responses. And let's see, so we want to see the hotkey. You were correct, Control-Alt-Shift-H. Yeah, pretty intuitive, Wireshark is, so. And then of course, if you guys ever get confused, just right click, see what's available. Followed by Google, followed by ChatGPT. Alrighty, I've got 2 more slides, but they're not related to Wireshark. All right, so I mentioned we do a lot of stuff with workshops. We do a lot of hands-on, trying to teach people how to do things to get everyone that experience. I talked about the Active Directory, and we built it from scratch on a Windows server, so everyone had their own AD environment. And then, of course, we do surveys. What do you guys want to see? And so this is a quick word cloud that I made. I'm not a fan of the word cloud because apparently it doesn't work well with spaces. So you'll see something in here like AD framework. That's not true. That word was supposed to be NIST/CIS framework. But anyway, so these are some of the topics that people have asked for. We see security, of course, Linux, cloud stuff, Python. There's also people who want incident response, incident handling, pen testing, ethical hacking, more networking, subnetting, which we've done. Some of the guys here teach the subnetting part, malware analysis, doing SIMs like Splunk and Waza. Waza is a little bit more than a SIM, but a good project if you guys want to get into that. We also asked if they want study groups. So we see people have asked for a CISSP, CCSP, Security Plus, Pentest Plus, Linux Plus, and just a whole bunch of others. So if you guys see something on here that you'd like to talk about, people want to listen to you. So you guys don't got to worry about that. And it doesn't have to be like a whole workshop. You could do like a 30, 40-minute talk, kind of like tonight. But yeah, I thought I'd throw that one out there and query the group, give you guys an idea of what people are looking for. And like I mentioned, I have a survey for you all. It will only take you about 1 to 3 minutes, depending on how much effort you want to put in. But I ask that you do this survey. Did you like the presentation? Do you like the hands-on stuff? I know it wasn't really advertised as hands-on, but if you guys bring your laptops, we'll do hands-on stuff. And then, of course, what other topics do you guys want to see? So I ask that you all fill this out. It'll help us get you guys what you want. And with that, that is the end. Thank you guys for your time.